We're gonna study words this morning. Nouns, verbs, adverbs, preposition, conjunction. So I know many of you are already um, informed of this because many of us already graduated from grammar school. But you know, the most important thing is how we translate that from the original languages. Here are some challenging words that we have to do. You see, the word I love my wife, I love your car, I love my brother, love one another. Here's one challenge we have. One English word with multiple Greek words. I love my wife could be in the Greek, you know?
Eros.
Yeah, eros. I love your car could be storge. That's in Greek. I love my brother could be, okay? Phileo. Love one another could be what? Agape. Here's the thing. There's only one Greek, English word for that. But in the Greek, you have what? Four. You have eros, you have storge, and you have phileo, and you have agape. That is our a problem. Immediately you'll find, wow. So you have one English word, and yet you have multiple Greek words. Okay? That is why it's very important to have tools, and I will introduce you later on some of those tools. Here's a tricky one. 1 Corinthians 7:23. You were brought by a price. Do not be a servant of man. Mark 9:35. And he sat down and called the 12 and said unto them, if any man desire to be first, he shall be the last of all. And now here's our theology. Isn't there a contradiction? Because here you were told, do not be a servant of man. And yet, Mark 9:35, Jesus said, be a servant of all. Some people can make a theology out of this. You will have probably Brother Soriano. Some of you are, you know, in the old way or dating daan. He will make a theology out of the English word or the Tagalog translation. When you have to go deeper, you will find that the word servant here in the Greek is the word, okay, diakonia. And here is the word doulos. Entirely different. And yet in the English, you only have what? One word. So this has a different meaning. This one has a different meaning. When Paul was saying, you were brought by a price, do not be a servant of man. You know what he was saying? Do not be like a slave. Okay? And yet you will find here in Mark 9:35 when Jesus said, you shall be a servant of all, he was saying, you have to be what? Humble, to serve one another. And yet you will find the word servant. So people can make a theology out of a translation. That is why it's very important. So that's our first challenge. Okay, for those of you who probably listened to a sermon that I did 2 years ago, the word disciple has three different meanings in the Greek. Follower, disciple, following behind. By follower, we find the word in the Greek, this is going to be akolotheo. Okay, akolotheo. And this one is mathetes. And this one is opiso. One word, but in Greek, three different ways. One talks about following a path, following a teaching, and following someone. And there's that word, followers, disciple, come follow me. Sometimes in different translation, it is the same, disciple, 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 or followers, followers, followers. Some people can make a theology of saying, followers, disciples, different. Actually, you have to go deeper to the meaning of the word. So one English word, but have multiple Greek words. Okay? On the other hand, we also have a problem. One English word, one Greek word, and yet you have multiple English words. Are you following me? So exactly the opposite. So the word fellowship in the Greek is the word koinonia. Okay, that's the Greek. Koinonia. And yet you will find it is translated in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways. The numbers here is how many times it was used. So about 1 time, this is just New Testament, 4 times the word koinonia is translated as communion, contribution, distribution, fellowship, 5. Wow. So exactly the opposite. So one Greek word, multiple English meaning. Here's another one. John 14:26. The word is Parakletos. Parakletos. You will find it has several meanings. Look at the Bible here, in the different translation. The word Parakletos is translated as what in the King James? Comforter. New King James. See, New King James and King James are almost the same. But what? Helper. New Life Translation. Advocate. And then advocate. There's actually another one that is used. What is that word? Teacher. One Greek word, parakletos, 5 different English words. So words are very important. We have to study them. So sometimes even an original word is translated by a whole phrase in English. We can actually understand this. For example, I'll give you, and for our English speaking only, I'll just use Tagalog. And I will give you a challenge this morning that that one word has no English derivative. You have to translate it in the whole sentence. Here's the word. Pang-ilan presidente si Obama? Pang-ilang presidente si Obama? What is the English translation? One word. You can't. There is no English equivalent, right? But what sentence? In what chronological order is President Obama President of the United States? But that's the whole sentence. Yes. Or you could say, President Obama is fill in the blanks, President of the United States. See, that's language. That's word. Look at this. 2 Corinthians 3:18. Here's the word. But we all with open face beholding as in a glass. That is a very challenging word. In the Greek, there's only one word. But you will find it is translated absolutely into a full sentence. Look at how this is translated. So all of us who had veil removed can see reflect the glory of the Lord. Very long. Let's go back. Beholding as in a glass. This is in the what? I believe NIV. But look at that. Okay? I'm sorry, that's not even in the NIV. But look at the NIV. Unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory. There's the word. And look at that. English Standard Version, beholding the glory of the Lord, being transformed in the same image. Absolutely different. It is a hard word. Okay? Why? It is a word that has no equivalent in the English language. Okay? Okay. I'm sorry. The previous one is actually the NASB. Okay? So this is the one. So that's our challenge. One word, but you have to expound it in a full sentence. So in the original Greek language or the Hebrew language, this is how the sentence would look like. Okay, boy, run, dog. So let me question you about this sentence, okay? Who does the running? The boy or the dog? Right?
You don't know, but that's how it looks like. Boy, run, dog. Okay. And is it passive? Like boy, run, dog. Like boy, run with the dog. See, in the Greek and in the Hebrew, the word run have probably about 12 to 18 properties. Yes. You will know from just one word the gender, if it is the doer, or is it the object. You will find that that's why Greek is very exotic. One word. And in Spanish, what's that word? Help me out. It's called conjugation. It can conjugate quickly the endings. But that's how it's going to look like. That's why it's very important. But I'm going to help you out. There are words. It's easy actually. It's not very hard. The moment, and there is actually a sheep, you're a cheat. Okay? You'll say, oh, I got that. Pastor Alan in Hermeneutics taught us about that. But that's how it's going to look like. Okay? For English, it will probably look like the boy is running with the dog. Or the dog is running with the boy. Okay? Now, you don't know who is doing the running. Who is it, the dog? Or who is chasing? Who? Or is it beside? Is it over? Is it under? In the Greek, that run will carry the strength of the sentence. It's amazing, huh? Okay? So, we're going to study, this words this morning. And it's going to be very exciting, okay? Now, let's start with the noun. A noun is a part of speech that oftentimes denotes the following: a person, a place, thing, animal, or idea. We know that. A noun occurs usually as the main word in the subject of a clause, the object of a verb, or the object of a preposition. So, fill that in your notes because we have about 5, I believe, blank spaces. So later on, we're going to study the assignment we have this week. And that word changed the way missions has been done. So how many of you have a little bit tried to dig the meaning of the word? The words. Matthew, okay? Some of you. So we're going to, shred or exegete that verse, okay? So let's look at some of the nouns here in the passages that we have, okay? And just look at the number of nouns, okay? So, how many nouns here? Jesus wept. 1, okay? And then, on the second one? Jesus replied. 3, okay? God. Okay, so you have to be careful when looking at nouns. In fact, you should look at the noun when you look at studying the scriptures. Like, go ye into the whole world. Go ye and make disciples to all nations. Okay, so we're going to study that. So I will start definitely with the noun. Okay, so here's a very tricky one where there is a lot of nouns. For I am. Where's your noun? Okay. Present or future, that's noun, right? Powers. I. Depth. Anything, yes. Creation. Us. Love. God. You know what? I will study that. I will start with that. What do you mean by death? What do you mean by life? What do you mean by angels? What do you mean by demons? In fact, when you start to do exegesis, just the word God is love, you can make it strong. Absolutely. Heavy. When you start doing exegesis. When you say trust in the Lord with all your heart. Boom, that is heavy. I actually, did a sermon out of that. This one is amazing. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, is a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. Wow, that's a powerful verse. You start with the word therefore. Amazing. So, words are very important. So, here's some things that we have to understand when it comes to language in general. But, just look at the English language. Now, in what language do people recite at a play and recycle? Ship by truck and send cargo by ship. That's have noses that run and feet that smell. How can a slim chance and a fat chance be the same? While a wise man and a wise guy are opposites. Wise man? Oh, you being a wise guy, huh? Your house can burn up as it burns down. You fill in the 4 by filling it out, and the alarm goes off by going on. When the stars are out, they're visible, but when the lights are out, they are invisible. Why do we drive on a parkway and park in the driveway? We speak of a brother and also of brethren, but though we say sister, we never say sistren. Then the masculine pronouns are he, his, and him, but imagine the feminine should be she, she's, and she. So it's, that's our remember, the receptor language and the original language. Do you remember that last Sunday? What is the original language? Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic. What is the receptor language? The language by which what? We receive it in our translated. And there's a distance. 500 years, 1,000 years. And English is an evolving language. So that is why it's very important when you study words, you go back to the original one. Okay? You will find this when Jesus said, those of you who does not hate his mother or his father is not worthy of me. Wow. Hate? See, some people can make a theology of that, but you have to go to the original language. What does that mean? And why did the NIV said, whoever does not love me more than his mother or father is not worthy of being my follower? Absolutely. Change the word. Demolish the word hate. You see, people can actually make a theology out of that. There was a cult to say, you know what, you have to disconnect with your family. You have to hate them. There was a group of cult way back in the early 70s called the Family of God who would do that. We are now your family. I don't know if you know about that cult. In fact, they evangelized by using sex to get converts. Yeah, the Family of God. And the cult leader was David Moses, and he was a prophet. And he used that word. You have to hate. But that's the meaning of the word is, in the original, is different. That is why we have to examine deeper the word. So how do you do that? Examine the local meaning. Examine the biblical meaning of a noun. Compare nouns in different translations. That is why, last Sunday we went to study about the importance of translation. What are the 3 different kinds of translation that you need to choose? Which is the first one? The one that is very conservative. Yeah, but what category? What category? What? Literal. Or what? Thought by thought. The middle one is what? Dynamic? Equivalent. Okay? And the other one is what? Free translation or what? Paraphrase. And you need to have each one. And I hope by now you've chosen what would be a good one. Personally, I like NASB because I can understand it. I use NIV and then I use the Message. Okay, so you should have at least 3 in your personal library. The good thing is that you have that in your app. Okay, you have that in your desktop. Okay, so compare different translation. I just gave you some of those verses and how they are translated differently. Find nouns in a dictionary, in a lexicon, and a concordance. Now we'll give you, a description or a definition how they are quite different from each other. So here's a good one about looking at the meaning of the local verse and the meaning of the biblical. When I mean biblical, the overall meaning from Genesis to Revelation. Look at this.
Here's the word that is flesh and blood. And actually, that word in the Greek is the word sarx. Okay, or sarx. That's the Greek. And yet you will find how it is differently translated, in different contexts. Look at Matthew 16:17. For this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood. That Greek is sarx. And yet, in 1 Corinthians 1:26, 26, I'm sorry, the noun, that's a translation. Can you delete that in the video? That's not inspired, man. That's my sarx coming out. So I have to use my glasses now, okay? Not many of you were wise by human standards. That is sarx. Okay? 1 Corinthians 15:39. Not all flesh. That's sarx. It's the same. People have one kind of flesh. Okay? Acts 2:26. My body. That's sarx. Okay? That's flesh. And then Galatians 5:17. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the spirit. So what happens? Each word, Greek, in a context, has a different meaning. But look at this. That one word means what? Man or people, human standards, the outer part of the body, the whole body is a person, the sinful nature. Very important. Yes. So noun is very, very important. That's why we have to start with that, because that is your object. That is your a subject. Okay. So now look at how a noun is translated differently. Revelations 10:6. Okay? It's quite long, but let's just look at this phrase right here. And the things which are therein, that there should be no time, no longer. Wow, that's deep, man. King James. You see, that's my challenge with King James. It's I have to man. But NIV, there will be no more delay. And then the new contemporary version, there will be no more waiting. Okay? Why is it that way? That there's only one time for that. The word for time is actually chronos. Okay? And that is how it is translated. Now, how do we translate a subject? And how do we discover? These are your tools. Concordance, dictionary, and a lexicon. Say it with me. Dictionary, concordance. It's not sick, huh? It's a lexicon. Okay? Okay, so here's another one. There's one word, okay? And how it is translated differently. Okay? I am becoming as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And yet NIV, I am only a resounding gong. Whoa! Brass and gong. The clanging cymbal. Or then NLT, which is probably about 10 years old. I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. So what is changing? The word what? Brass, gong, and gong. Okay? At least the symbol is the same. So here's the word. Now, why do we have that? And this is where your three tools are very important. So let's go first to the dictionary. At the end of this session, we're going to go into the Blue Letter Bible and navigate. A Bible dictionary, like many other dictionaries, define the meaning of a particular word. Okay? Vine's dictionary, you have this in Blue Letter Bible. If you want a deeper one, I use Colin Brown. And I am privileged to be actually a student of this great scholar in Fuller. This is an amazing dictionary. But Vine's would be very good, okay, to start as a lay person. And I'll show you. The good thing about Vine's, this is in Blue Letter Bible, as I mentioned. Colin Brown, as I said, they are no longer
free. If you want that, there's is where you have to have an account and log in and open up, you know, and it's probably gonna cost, but at least you can start with Vine. Now, you know, after this, I'll show you in the actual pages of how it looks like in the Blue Letter Bible, okay? So this is how it looks like. This is how your dictionary look like. So we're gonna use Revelations 10:6, okay? I said that right, okay? Okay. That there should be no time no longer. There will be time no longer, okay? How do I know that? Through a dictionary. So actually, look at this tab, and then you will have the different dictionaries. I just mentioned, this is one dictionary, this is one dictionary, this is one dictionary, and this is one dictionary. All of them now, you could go to John, Revelation of John, and if you click that, it's going to give you that definition of the word time, which is chronos, okay? Are you following me? Names topical, it will give you a definition of time. And then Tori dictionary, time, so that's your dictionary. That's how you will get the meaning of the word time, okay? So what I did, I opened up Naves, and then it gave me this dictionary, okay? There's our verse. Oh, there's our verse, Revelations 10:6. The good thing about this is that you can go and that same word chronos and how it is translated in different passages in the Bible. Are you following me? Okay, so that's how you look at nouns. What is a lexicon? A lexicon is a dictionary, but it lists the words according to the Hebrew and Greek language. Okay? The good thing about lexicons is that it gives you also the roots and the etymology of the word. A good one is kittel and kittel. It's a very good lexicon. Look at this. So this is now in the Blue Letter Bible, all the screenshots. Remember this? Wow, those of you who've been here last Sunday, Textos Receptus. That's one of the most original scripts that we have. So they could actually use the word Textos Alexandricos. Or what? The other one? The more recent manuscript? Come on. Dead Sea Scroll. Or the Septuagint. But Septuagint is only what? You will not find Revelation 10:6 in Septuagint. Why? Septuagint is what? The Greek of the Old Testament. Okay, very good. Okay, so here's this word. Okay, chronos. Okay, now this is different than the dictionary. If I click that, this is how it's gonna come out. Boom. All of the what? So it's opposite. It's not the English word. It is the original language that uses what? Time. See, here's our problem. All of them are time, but look at that. They're so different. Wow. So when you say like, time is up, or what time? Or 2 days, the time. You have to do it in the Greek, man. Look at that. So this is your what? Lexicon. So it is a dictionary, but they don't use the English, they use the original language. Okay? Now, so the next one would be the concordance. Some of you probably know this, okay? The concordance is how the word time is mentioned in the Bible. For example, Genesis has 23 what? Word of time. Exodus. So Romans about 6. The only problem with this is that you don't know what is the original Greek of that. So where do you go back? To your what? Lexicon. So here's a screenshot of the 3 different sources that you have. Very different. So how do you study? You study, using those 3 different tools. Okay? That's how nouns are very important. Okay? Are you following? Yes. You got this? Okay. So use your dictionary. if you don't know the meaning of that, and then the lexicon, if you try to cross-reference that word, the different translation, the concordance, I wanna go and expand the biblical, like the word sarx. The flesh, if I use the concordance, I will probably not hit that. Why? The word sarx, why? Why will I not hit that in the concordance? Because the word flesh is translated differently in different books. So how do I discover that? I go to my what? My lexicon. Yes. My lexicon helps me, okay, to discover, to limit the field of how the word chronos is used in the Bible. Okay? If I want to know the deeper meaning of the word chronos and time, I go to my dictionary. So you have to use all three. Okay? So pronouns. Just a quick one, okay? So you have personal pronouns, I, he, she, his, hers, then demonstrative pronoun, which means here, there, this, and that. Indefinite pronoun, all and everything. It's very important because in the Bible, sometimes pronouns can change and does not follow the rules of grammar. Okay? For example, this one is very important. No, this is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. We Pentecostal, that word is a hinge, opening the door to our Pentecostal theology. Because when Peter said this refers to a what? A previous teaching or a passage. So when you have this, make sure you follow this and that. That's your what's this? Hint. Okay? Now this is very important. And sometimes this is where I said that the rules of grammar does not follow. The Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you. The rules of grammar is that if your subject, the gender form, is feminine or masculine, it follows that the pronoun is what? Masculine or what? So when I say the boy, what should be the proper pronoun? He. Okay? When I said the girl, the proper pronoun is what? She. And this is where it absolutely demolished the rules of grammar. The Spirit is in what? Neutral. It's actually what? Pneuma. Okay? That is the English. What is the rule in neutral? If it's in a neutral gender, it follows that you use what? It. Look at this. So the Greek goes like this. The Spirit, the pneuma, it should follow that the world cannot accept it. Because it neither, here it does not what? Refer to the Spirit. It refers to what? The world. Very good. Okay? Neither sees what? It. And knows what? It. But you know, dapat it. It. And yet, you will find it's not it. The pronoun is what? In the what? Masculine gender. Yes. You know what that means? Or rather, this one, it means what? The Holy Spirit is a what? Person. You see? One word, and boom. So, pronouns is very important. Okay? Very important. You follow that. And I hope, I don't think you will discover that Adam, it follows that became a she. So, so you have to follow that, all right? So that's a pronoun. So interpreting a noun versus a pronoun, and you just did that, okay? When you follow the it, no, it did not describe about the Holy Spirit. It describes the what? The world. Very critical thinking, okay? So in interpreting a noun, you look for the context of the nouns around it, surrounding the clause or the sentence.
a pronoun must be interpreted within the context of an antecedent, literally meaning what goes before a pronoun. Although oftentimes obvious, there are some verses that requires very careful observation. Okay, so that's how you approach a pronoun. So context is king. Okay. Okay, we're just gonna skip that. But here's the second group of words that we're gonna look at. Verbs. Verbs are action words that show action. There are three kinds of verbs. Action verbs, okay, state verbs, and helping verbs. Okay, you fill it up before we go. The next slide. Now, in biblical Greek, examine the local context. It's very important. Number two, compare the verse in several contexts. See, this is a rule that you're going to look at over and over and over again. Examine the local context. Compare the verse in several contexts. Use a dictionary or concordance. Cross-reference and look at parallel passages. Okay? Okay? See, I just mentioned this earlier. Luke 14:26, Matthew 10:37. If you remove this and only preach and do Bible study on this, you will have a big problem. Because then you will be what? Dependent on the old King James Version translation of Luke 14:26. So it's very important that you look at and cross-reference. Okay? So you have to look at in order to find the larger meaning of the word. Because look at this, the word has been translated to more than me, and not hey. So that's how you interpret. Now here's the tenses, and I mentioned this several times. In the English, we only have past tense, we have what? Present tense, and we have what? Future tense. The Greek has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tenses. And that's your tenses right there. Okay. I hope we have a longer of time to discuss about this, but this is going to be your sheet where you're going to look at, because later on when we look at when the word go into the whole world, let's look at go. We know that's a verb, but what is the tenses? And there's an English equivalent or example. Okay? So the aorist tense, we don't have this. Okay? It is like a one-time event that could not be repeated. Okay? Aorist, like one time. Okay? Pluperfect or rather perfect tense. I don't think we have this. It's not a tense for us. It is a sub-tense in the English language. But in the Greek, this is entirely a different tense. For example, when Jesus said, "It is finished." So if that is an action, it continues to what? Have its effect to this day. So what is the theological implication of that? It is not a one-time event. The meaning is that Jesus continues to finish His work to this day. It is not just finished on the cross. Amen? That's amazing, okay? So that's your tenses now. Here's what I said about Hebrew. Hebrew is more complicated. Hebrew has only two tenses. The incomplete tense and then the what? The complete tense. It's going to blow you away. But they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 7 what we call stems. The stems means the intensity of a particular action. Look at this. Let's use this as an example. Here's your stem. Kal, Nipal, Piel, Pual, Hifel, Hufal, Hippael. Okay, look at this. Grow weak, tired. Be sick. That's the... Okay, next, be exhausted. To overcome by sickness. You see the intensity? To
and then peel, to appease, to flatter, to be made weak to a point that you have fallen ill. That's the intensity. Look at this, from the cow to uncover, and yet the deeper intensity is what? To expose oneself. See, that is, we don't have that in the English language. So we're going to look at later on how we're going to use this, but these are tenses that are not in our English language. So about 9 tenses in the Greek, 2 tenses in the Hebrew, but it has 7 different kinds of stem. It's like, I'm hungry. I'm really, really, really hungry. I'm really, really hungry that I can kill a bear. See, that's intensity. That's Hebrew. Okay, it's just like one word, but the intensity goes like this. From then it's like a force. Okay? That's Hebrew, and you will find that when you look at your Blue Letter Bible. Okay, so this is your sheet. Like okay, from neutral to positive. Okay, adjectives, words that describe nouns and pronouns. Here's just 2 things that we need to be very careful when it comes to adjectives. Da and a is very important, because da is what? Specific. When you say the boy, you know it is a particular, it is a specific boy. When you say a boy, it's general. Like it's, you know, it's all the boys in the world. But we say the boy in the ledge is about to jump. There's a particular boy. So this is very important because look at this in 1 Timothy 6:10, 1 Timothy 6:10 in the King James NIV, how it changed. For the love of money is the root of all evil. In the NIV is a root of all kinds of evil. So when you see that, it is what? Specific. Okay? When you say it is general. Okay. How's your hermeneutics going to change? Okay, help me out with this. When you say the root of all evil, what does that mean?
It's the only.
It's the only. When you say one of the. Very good. Now, what is the difference? Translation. This is textus receptus. And this is what? Yes, I want to whisper against this cross. Or what? The cutie? Not Q-tips, huh? QT is what? Qumran text, because it's found in the Qumran caves. See? Okay, here's the question. Did it change at all? You know? A little bit. But the most important thing is that money is the root of evil. Okay? It creates problems. But, you see, just look at this. So this is like a crash course, you know, of the original language. Just be careful with the da and the a, okay? Conjunctions. These are bridges. They join one thought with one another. A very important rule in hermeneutics is when you see the words, these are the words, very important. Therefore, see the reason what it is there for. Okay? That's the meaning. Now, here are conjunctions. There are hinges. I shared this earlier to show contrast. Here are the words, but, yet, however, nevertheless. When you see these words, especially in the New Testament, and most especially when it comes to the epistles, it's a very important thing. You should never ignore that. Okay? Then, to compare, either, neither, both, not only, be careful of that, because there's a teaching coming in. There's an argument coming in. Transition, finally, then, also, and. And then to link a condition, if, then. This is, you know, this is very Pauline text. When I say Pauline, it's Paul, okay?
not Colin Kanamasa, okay? To link cause and effect, therefore. These are very important. These are small words, but you know they carry weight. Okay? It's just like your Boolean algebra. Okay? You have, if then. You have 1, 0, huh? It's logic, correct. It's heavy. If A is B equals to AB, then that's your Boolean. There's a thought, there's a heavy thought. Find them, okay? Now, so we have to do this quite fast, but when we go to the epistles, we're going to look at these rules. Okay? When we look at poetry, we're going to go back to these rules. Like the stem, let's look at that because David used it a lot of times. So, then, the last one, the preposition. Okay? Preposition is a word governing, usually preceding a noun or a pronoun, and expressing a relation to another word or element in the clause. As in the man on the platform, or she arrived after dinner. What did he do it for? Now here's your shortcut. This is a very good diagram. So when it comes to Greek, they have a lot of this in the nouns. Okay? So just look at the object here and how this preposition, it helps to describe, to give a word picture of what is happening. So when you say hooper, that means what? Over. Or epi is what? Upon. So we have pro is toward. Dia is through. Hupo is under. Let me tell you what, when you see this in your lexicon, there will be like literally thousands of this. Let me give you an example and give you an exercise. Let's start with the word metanoia. The root word for metanoia is the word noia, which is actually what? Mind. Okay? So, okay, I don't think I have the meta here. Okay, let's just use the word hopernikao. Therefore, brothers, we are more than conquerors. What does that mean? Hopernikao. The word nikao, this is where we get the word Nike. That means what? Victory. Okay? But hooper is what? Over.
More than.
So, if you translate that in your own way, hopernikao is what?
More than.
Overly victorious. Like mega victorious. Like exceedingly victorious. Over. Okay? Now, proskuneo. Pastor Fred used this when he preached a sermon on becoming a worshiping church. This is very good, actually. Koneo, in the Greek, is the word what? Kiss. That's the word for worship. Okay, here's your preposition, pro. So you add pro and kiss. What does that mean? That's the word for worship. To kiss the word God. That's worship. Okay, so next Sunday, it's Valentine's Day. You proskuneo your wife. Kiss the word. Okay? Alright? So when you say parakuneo, what does that mean? You know? Beside. I think that's CPR, okay? Or mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, okay? Okay, so here's another word. See, I'm using the word earlier. Parakletos. Kletos is what? An advocate. Advocate. Okay. So what does that mean? Para beside. You will have all of this. Let me tell you what these words, hapa, epi, is. This will be there in your
all the time. So when it comes out, okay, that's your cue. Okay, so steps in word analysis. Choose your words. Start with your noun. Okay. Find the English definition. How do you do that? Use the dictionary. Now, do not use the English dictionary like Webster. Yes. Why? There's a gap. Use the English, if you want to know, if you don't know that in the English translation, but you can use a paraphrase. So use the Bible dictionary, okay? Compare different translations. Write down the definition of the original word. Okay? Look out for cross-reference in the Bible. Find the root meaning of the word. Okay? And discover the word's usage in the Bible. So, let's do our homework. How many of you did so we're actually gonna do our navigation in the Blue Letter Bible. So let's maybe a few minutes, okay? How many of you did the assignment?
Try.
Can I ask Elaine to help Elaine? Just and then. I'm calling my wife because I want to demonstrate proskuneo. Okay, go into the whole word. Let's do this, okay? If you're ready, okay. Go. What is the verse there? Go and make disciples of all nations. Okay. So, if you have a smartphone, let's read this, okay? Go. What is the Greek for that? Huh? Paruho? Go. What is the tense? Okay. Do you find that tense there? Present tense? Did you say present tense? Did you? Okay. So present is what? So let's go to your sheet earlier. Okay. Do you have it, Lane? Okay. So here's your present tense. Okay. So present. So meaning habitual. So that means it's not just past. You should be doing the going right now. Present. It's not past. It's not future. Man. Very good. So it's our present tense. See? Now I can get a sermon out of this. So it's something that is habitual. We should be going constantly. Now, let's do it. Okay? And make disciples. Very good. That's a noun. What is the original for that? You ready? Okay. Some of you who did, okay. So we are connected. So what I will do is teach you guys how to navigate in the Blue Letter Bible, and then teach you how we can do this. Hope I'm good. Good. We're connected. Okay? So, what is our text? Matthew 28? 19. Okay. Wow, there you go. Oh, it's not coming out.
Oh, the
Spelling of Matthew.
spelling of
Matthew.
Matthew.
Matthew's the spelling
Still,
of
huh?
No, the spelling of Matthew.
Matthew.
T-T.
So it's double H for me, huh?
Yeah.
And I have a...
There you go.
Very good. Okay, 28.
There we go.
Okay, here we go. Here are our tools, huh? So, okay, I want to know 19, okay? I want to know first my text. Okay? I want to know my text. So go, poreo. Very good. Paul said it. Go ye therefore. Now we're going to go to the what? To the Strongs. What does that mean? This guy Strong is amazing. He actually numbered every single
Wow.
word.
Yeah.
So that numbering is very important. When he placed there G491, G4198, that's not your lotto number, okay? He actually numbered every single word.
Wow.
That's amazing, yeah. So poreo, that's your original Greek word. What does that mean? Okay, so I'm gonna do a word study. You even have a pronunciation.
Strong's G 4198. Paruo.
Paru. Man, wrong pronunciation. It is a verb. It is an action. It is a what? It is a something's happening. Okay, right?
Yes.
Okay. What is the meaning of that? To lead over, to carry over, to transfer, to pursue, like in a journey, to depart from, say, one's life. Okay. Okay. Now, wow, Paru. Okay. Here we go. How is that word translated in different translation? King James, go, go. Therefore, go. Go, therefore. So it's just, you know, so there's not a lot of derivation. Okay. Now, I want to go to so 28:19. Okay, so that's the word now. Cross-reference. How is this used go in different what? Passages in the Bible. There you go. Although I cannot find the go here, I just find the word what? Therefore. Okay? So I'm trying to find the go. But that's your what? Cross-reference. Commentaries. Chuck Smith. Okay, here are your...
Oh, that's much better than
I will
Bible,
probably
huh?
pick McGee. Yeah. I'll probably pick up Matthew Henry. You know why I would not pick up Chuck Smith so much? Because it's more of like preaching. Yes, it is actually audio. See? Audio. That's a sermon. You don't want to be listening to about 45-minute sermon for, you know. I would go to a deeper, like Matthew Henry. 28, and then I would go to his preaching on this, on a particular word. Okay, are you following me? Okay. So the dictionary. Okay. The word go. So here are the different subjects. You know why is baptism involved there? Because of the word go into the horod, you know, like baptized in, you know. Yes. And then so there you go. Now let's go to the next word. Okay, make disciples. I'll just pick up 3 verses this morning because we don't have a lot of time, but the next word is what? Teach them. Mathiteo. Okay, what does that word mean? To teach. What is that? It's a verb. Okay, what does that mean? To be a disciple. To follow his precepts and instructions. That's important. So it's really like deeper teaching, okay? To instruct. Now, there's not a lot of, I'd say, a major discovery of that. This is where the word I would like to use. Ethnos. What does that word mean? Multitude? A company, a tribe, a nation. Here's that word, a people group. Okay, now, here's probably what I will do. I will go to the lexicon and I will type the word nation. I want to discover how the word nation is translated differently in the Bible. Wow. Now, I would limit my field. I'm not going to use the nation in the Old Testament. I'm just going to use the New Testament. So here is the different words for nation. although it covers the word indignation. So,
Examination.
so
Abomination.
you're very exhausted. Here's the first one. See, abomination. That's the nation. That's not the nation. Guinea. So what does that Guinea? Generation, time, and age. Okay. And then say imagination. I'm not gonna use that. Okay. Okay. So see, this is your what? Your lexicon. So Guinea would probably be the next one. What does that mean? Father, birth, multitude, a family or a stock. Okay, so I'll have an understanding of what a nation means. So this word, so probably the closest one is Guineo, and then ethnos. So I will go deeper and study that word ethnos. So what does ethnos means? A race, a tribe, especially a foreign, non-Jewish, so Gentile probably, heathen nation. But this is where number 3 is very important. A tribe, nation, people, group. So you know what the missionaries have discovered? The word ethnos does not mean what? Country.
It's people group.
The nations, because when you say ethnos, some people translate that as what? Go into the whole world, whole nations, but actually the meaning of the word ethnos in a deeper way is what?
People group.
Tribe. Okay? A people group and a nation. How do this change the makeup of the missionary work? This means that countries have their own people groups. For example, Laos is one country, but the people group is actually what? The tribe? About 300. So when, this is very important because when Jesus, cultural, historical meaning, when he said go into the whole world, you have to remember that Jerusalem was the what? Remember those of you who were here yesterday? Was the center. Centripetal. People were coming. Remember Acts chapter 2. People from all around the world heard their tongue. When the people spoke in tongues. So when Jesus said, go into the whole world, he was not saying Afghanistan, Iran. He was not saying Poland. He was saying to a particular people group. Which means America is not just one nation. There are the Filipinos, the Jamaican, the Farsi. Yes. So when people saw the meaning of the word ethnos, it changed. That we can actually be missionaries in our own way. Yes. Address the people group. How many of you discovered this word when you did the assignment? That is very important. Just one word. Okay? So I hope, just the little exercise, we discovered a lot when it comes to interpreting the Bible. Amen? Amen? I hope you were not, this is too, if you have any question, email me. But next Sunday, we're going to look at figures of speech. Okay? So we're going to study how, so it's going to go deeper and deeper. Okay? And then by about 2 weeks from now, we're going to start the first genre, like how do we interpret the law, like Pentateuch, and how is it different from history? So the first 6 lessons are all about rules of hermeneutics. Then we're going to apply it to different genre.
Amen.
Lord bless you, and
Yes,
I'll give you this material in your email, and then I'll give you another assignment. Okay, see you at the worship.